Hi, good morning, guys. We have Dr. Avinash D'Souza with us. He is a consultant psychiatrist and a psychotherapist with a private practice in Santa Cruz, Mumbai. He is also the founder, trustee, and founder of D'Souza Foundation, which is very well known. And you can find more information about him at d'souzafoundation.com. Good morning, Doc. How are you doing?
All fine. Yeah.
Doc, I'm going to directly dive into the main question over here is, what do you see about the mental health during this lockdown? This lockdown is all over the world, and we've seen a lot of news coming in where people are not able to handle it. So would love to get your take on that, and any solutions one could have.
See, it's very essential for all of us to first understand that the lockdown is universal in sense, and it is unprecedented. What I mean by this is that it is a kind of situation where we haven't ever been in at any point of time in our lives. So we've had periods of, where say the city may be closed for 2 days or 3 days, or there may have been some riots, or there may have been some problems, but we've never really had a situation where we have been locked in for such a long period under peaceful circumstances. And at the same time, we have been told, not to get out and we have to use a mask. And we've never really seen every person on the road wear a mask. So it's definitely a different scenario. Now, this is bound to affect our mental health from the very simple point of view that we are not used to sitting indoors, and most of us are very social people. We're used to a lifestyle where we're used to eating out, partying, malls, cinemas, roaming on the beach, roaming, particularly from Mumbai, roaming around the seaside. And suddenly all that is cut off. Even our garden walks are cut off. Multiple things are cut off. Gym goers can't go to a gym anymore. So a lot of the basic necessities that we've been, or the luxuries that we've been having over the months or years have suddenly been cut off.
Yeah.
So it would affect mental health. And I think when it talk about mental health, there are two or three facets to understand. One is we would see a lot of new cases. So people who get depressed, anxious, worried, petrified, bothered, etc., because of the lockdown and post the lockdown, and the fear of the entire COVID-19 situation. Will I get the infection? Will I get admitted? Will I get quarantined? What if someone nearby gets an infection? So those fears. The second component is a group of patients who are already under psychiatric treatment. They would worsen because they were, used to going out and working and doing things, and now suddenly they are confined to their homes. Availability of medications sometimes has become a problem. So you see a relapse in their psychiatric condition. So that is something which will also come up. And thirdly, we will also see mental health getting affected because family members who were not probably seeing each other the whole day and only meeting each other for an hour or 2 hours now will have to bear the brunt and grind of being with each other 24 hours. When that happens, I mean, there is no doubt, you have to tolerate multiple facets of someone, and then you will develop some skirmishes, some disagreements, some fights. So a lot of interpersonal issues will come up. In fact, it's a good time for people to sit and talk and sort out their interpersonal issues because they have a lot of time to be with each other. But at the same time, we will also see a lot of problems coming up. So there have been increase in the cases of domestic violence that have been reported. There have been increase in the cases of interpersonal violence between family members which have been reported. Joint families are fighting more because they're all together in the same house. So these are all issues which we are now seeing, and they definitely affect the mental health.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you're absolutely right. I do have a friend in one of the police stations, and he's a good friend. And he mentioned that in the last 2, 3 weeks, he's seen an increase in domestic violence quite high, in fact. And he has to handle those on a day-to-day cases and literally resolve them in the police station itself, and not escalate to the next level because he understands, like you said, everybody's confined to that small space, and that's where the issue is. Yeah, I also wanted to talk to you about, the health of children, because children are not used to sitting at home. They're used to sitting, seeing their friends at school or maybe colleges. And I have two small kids, a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old. And I see they're starting to get frustrated of not able to even get out. My daughter, in fact, made a small message to Modi ji saying, "Please get rid of Corona," as she believes that Modi ji can do that. So it's those kind of mental health issues can also come up in children. How do you see, one should handle them?
See, there are multiple aspects when it comes to handling children, particularly because a lot again for them, they've always we've been after children. Go down and play, go and do this, go and do that, go out of the house, leave your gadget, leave the TV, and now we're telling them you can't step out of the house. So
Yeah.
it's a totally unprecedented situation for them as well.
Yeah.
Another issue is that children have multiple queries in their minds, so we need to answer those queries. So how long will this lockdown last? What is it about? What is Corona? Will I die of Corona? Are we all going to die? Is the world going to come to an end? They will have multiple queries because this is how they think. And will my parents be affected by the illness? And why is there so much of death? Because you're probably seeing the news and they're also seeing it with you. So it's important that we answer all their queries. Some children may have school in an online mode, so they will have some lessons going on and they may not be able to go to school physically. So they come up with queries that will this situation ever resolve? Will we ever go out? Will we ever go to our schools and will we ever go to meet our teachers, etc.? So one of the things is that answer all their queries. Second is teach them to stay calm. See that some amount of physical activity is incorporated into their schedule. Screen time will have to be bartered in a way. I can't say reduce screen time because they don't have much entertainment otherwise. But at the same time, we will have to make sure that they do a variety of activities. And I think for parents, it's a very good time to sit and talk to their children about multiple things because they are never going to get so much time with their children at home ever. So if they're getting this time, it's very important that they sit, speak to children, talk to them, talk about various things and multiple things, God, religion, death, life, certain incidences, so many things. And children would love to listen to them. So I think it would be a very nice parent-child bonding kind of a situation that can develop. And apart from this, also it's important that the adolescents are looked after. So the adolescents are the much harder group to deal with because they are used to a lot of freedom compared to smaller children. And suddenly they can't go out, they can't meet their friends, they can't go to college, they can't go to school. Boyfriends and girlfriends who are in a relationship and which is hidden from their parents again are in a mess because they can't really talk much or meet much or even video call much because parents may approve or disapprove of what is happening.
Yeah.
So those are things which are there. And apart from that, I think the other issue is that children have to be made to feel secure that don't worry, the situation is going to get okay. Give them positive hope rather than giving them negative hope, and tell them that we are all going to come through this and we are all going to be able to this is all happening only so that your generation remains protected and something good for your generation develops. And I think parents have to tell children that we have seen everything. I mean, if you look at Avinash, your generation and my generation, what happens is, I mean, what all have we not seen, if you ask me? Okay, I think we were in the 10th standard and we had the 92 93 riots, and we had been through that. We've seen the 92 bomb blasts. In fact, I remember vividly, we missed a board exam which happened after that, during the middle of our 10th, that the board exam, the bomb blasts happened. So that was there. Then apart from that, the 93, the riots happened immediately after that. Then we had the train blasts in 96, which we saw. 2001, we saw the terror attacks. We've seen the July floods. We've seen the Taj terror attacks. And I mean, we've seen demonetization, and now we've seen a pandemic. So technically, I mean, we've come out of every situation quite resilient. So I think we have to incorporate the same resilience into our children, telling them that ye bhi dekh lenge. I mean, we've managed so much that we will be able to see it. So I think if we give them strength, they will feel stronger.
Do you suggest any, I keep hearing about go out, go in the sun in the morning, it feels a little fresh in the morning, just for everybody. It's not just for children. Do you think that should be a case as well? Like, just get some fresh air.
You have a sort of terrace where you can go out and you can talk to people and you can.
Doctor, you're not audible.
Can you hear me?
A little, but not the way it was before.
Just 1 minute.
Yeah, doctor, I can hear you now better.
Yeah. So, see, I feel if you're lucky enough and you have an open space in your compound or in your terrace that you can go to, do go. I mean, but then what has happened today is that I think most buildings and most societies have blocked access to their open spaces. So, societies which have a swimming pool don't allow it. Societies which have a garden have said people cannot all walk down. Societies that have a terrace have also restricted access. So, I think if societies can think of smaller societies where there are less number of flats, a time-bound limited access, of course, can be done. But I would still say it's little difficult because we don't know who all are going on the terrace and what infection anyone might get. So that fear is always there. But if you can stand in your own balconies and get some amount of sun, I feel that's something which you should do because it's good. Again, like people say, should I meditate? Should I do yoga? I always say it's a very personal choice. So there are some people who would like to have loud music and dance. There are some people who would like to meditate. There are some people who would like to jog. There are some people who like to walk. So I think whatever you feel works for you is something that should be done because that is what I think will suit you the best. And so people tell me, should I get up early? Should I get up late? So I always say you have to see what suits your body cycle. So if your body cycle is something which you're a late sleeper, then sleep late. If your body cycle is one where you're an early riser, then do that. So do whatever you feel suits your body cycle.
Should one follow a routine? I personally have missed on my all routines personally because I've been working in the morning. I've been also working at late nights for my international clients, and my routine is all messed up right now. And I do see, some changes in my thinking pattern as well. So, do you recommend a kind of follow a routine for the day?
I usually tell people that try and sleep and get up at the same time, if possible. That is something which I feel is very important. I mean, I understand you may have, work in the morning, work in the night, but then plan your schedule such that at least you sleep at the same time daily. So, you may work till 2 a.m. and sleep, but then sleep at 2 a.m., get up at 9 a.m. I mean, keep that schedule fine. So, it shouldn't happen that it's 11 p.m. one day and then 3 a.m. another day and then 1 a.m. another day. So that is going to let a lot of things go out of hand. So it will also affect you physically. So you will have constipation, acidity, I mean, multiple other things which will come up. So I feel it's better to have a fixed schedule in that sense. Also make sure that you get around 7 to 8. Normally you wouldn't get hours of sleep. So it's a very good time for you to get 7 to 8 hours of sleep and use that period wisely. So I think you should do that.
Okay. And like you said, it's for individuals' choice if they want yoga, dance, loud music, whatever they want to do. But also limit the screen time. I've heard a lot of people saying I've binged on Netflix, I've binged on Amazon Prime, I've done 10 hours of video today and all that stuff. But that's not good either, right?
See, it depends on how you're doing it. So, if you have a good your eyes, fine. But if you're going to do it on your phone or on your iPad or on your tab, then obviously it's going to strain your eyes. So you have to see how you want to do it, and you can do it in parts. So you may see a movie in the morning, see a movie in the evening, but you need not be seeing a movie 10 hours on the trot. So if you're doing that, then obviously you're going to have problems. And particularly with Netflix and Amazon Prime, I don't have anything against any channel, but I always say that, the desire for you to see what's going to happen in the next episode is what keeps you going, because they end the episode very nicely that you crave to see the next. So the whole aim is that, then you end up wanting to finish the whole series at one go.
Is there any other recommendation, doctor, one should follow, one should do?
I think there are other special populations that have to be catered to. So one of the most important people that have to be looked after during this period is the elderly, because many of our elderly are having children abroad who haven't been able to come back to them. and they are staying alone. So it's important, and they are not allowed to go out because the government directive says that they have to stay indoors because they are more susceptible to the infection. So I think people in housing societies have to get a little proactive and see that the elderly feel safe and secure. The youth have to try and make them feel safe and secure, see that their basic necessities are fulfilled, see that their medical needs are fulfilled, see that they're not having a mental health problem. Another thing which I feel most of the youth have to do is try and get the elderly into a digital literate mode. So, they can then communicate with their children who are abroad. Because I think one of the problems many of them are facing is, I don't know to use Zoom, I don't know to use a video call, I have never done it. So, and now I'm, forced to do it. So I don't know how the Wi-Fi works, and so multiple problems that they face because they are not born digital and neither have they been digital all their lives. So helping them in that area is important. Seeing that their basic necessities are fulfilled is something which is very important. And the most important facet is that they shouldn't be feeling alone, and they may want to talk about death because they feel, is my life going to end this way? And they may want to talk about multiple things, and their worries are we ever going to see our children again? Will we ever be able to go abroad, or they will be able to come here? Will we survive this pandemic is what worries many of the elderly. So that is something which we need to talk to them about. The same goes for pregnant women, because a lot of pregnant women must be facing a lot of problems during this period. So, they are worried about the delivery, the child coming out. What if I contract COVID during my pregnancy? Will it affect the baby? I mean, multiple worries. So they also need to be handled and put at ease. So these are things which I think, also are special groups of people that need to be looked after.
So, is online consultation possible for you to meet your, like a lot of people cannot come to you physically. If they want, they can. Probably there's a time slot you've given, but if anybody wants to get in touch with their psychiatrist, can they do that as well through online?
Yes, we are offering online consultation, which is in a video mode. It's there in a chat mode. It's also there on a Zoom meeting, like how we are. So we are offering this to patients, and a lot of them are taking advantage of this facility. We've been telling them that only if it's a major emergency, then you physically come out and see us. But otherwise, try and manage on the phone as far as possible. We are emailing them a prescription of medication which they are getting from chemists, or there are some people who are delivering it to their houses. So that availability and that service is available. But most importantly, I think the video consultation, initially we felt that whether patients would be amenable and acceptable to that, because psychiatry is something wherein a face-to-face meeting with the doctor, conveying of emotions matter a lot. But I think now, considering the current situation, at least people feel, one of the things a lot of my patients tell me is that, even if we see you for 5 minutes, we feel good, we feel secure. So, we would love to video call you and just, see you and talk to you so that, we feel at ease. Okay, I've seen my doctor and, things are fine. So from that point.
Yeah, okay. That makes absolute sense. Hitting on the last topic, I've heard a couple of my own cousins who are elderly. They're very worried. They're saying, well, if we die because of COVID, it's just the mental health which they're going through. Nobody is going to come and take our body as well from the family. So that also is a worrying part for them. That is like, so I keep telling them, you're dead. Why are you worrying about that right now? There's nothing you can do. But what do you tell to these people?
See, in India, what happens is that death is a very religious, sacred, psychosocial phenomenon. So if you die, the whole concern is I need to be sent off very well. Otherwise, my body will not get rest, and my soul won't attain moksha. What is the ultimate thought? And that's what's been taught to us from a religious point of view always.
Right.
So the thing is, there are government directives on, funerals are happening. They are a little particular that, yes, if you do get COVID, of course, if you're being burnt, there is no worry. But if you have to be buried, then you have to be buried around 10 feet or 12 feet below. So those are things which are there. So I think it's happening. Yes, you won't have a large crowd for your funeral because that won't be allowed. Only maybe a few family members, less than 5 members will come. But
Mm.
I think, as you rightly said, I mean, I wouldn't worry so much because I think, once you're dead, you're not there to worry what's happening to you.
Yeah.
So I think, but then, the concern is always there that, I mean, I would want a lot of people to see me off. And if I'm not sent off in the right manner, I wouldn't be happy. So I
Yeah.
think, so they need to be just spoken to and told that first, you're not going to die. I
Mm.
mean, why would you die? You don't have an infection. You're not going to get an infection. You're not having a problem.
Mm.
And two, if in a worst case scenario, you do fall ill, there is a recovery because most cases of corona recover. It's not that they don't. I mean, deaths are there in 5 to 10% of cases, but otherwise, recoveries are quite large. So why should you, worry about death immediately?
Mm. Now, going to the forward question now, probably the last question of the session. If things go back to normal in a slow, staggered manner, what should one do mentally? Uh, let's just say I want to go back to work. It's not going to be that easy to, start right away, right? Is there a planned
I
manner how one should handle that?
I think that you start in a gradual way because you're used to a certain form of working at home. So maybe you start with 2 days a week or 3 days a week to start with, get into the rhythm and then get into a 6-day week
Mm.
schedule. I think that is what would help. What is also very important is that you keep in mind that this is um, I mean, when the lockdown started, we were worried how will we get used to the lockdown. Now I think we're fairly adapted to it, and
Yeah.
I think the same way we'll adapt to work again. I mean, we are very adaptable as a species, so I don't think that's so much of a problem at all. And so I think adaptations will happen. We've always adapted all our lives,
Right.
and that's what the theory of evolution also tells us. We adapt to changing circumstances.
Mm.
But I think the message that I will give out to people is mainly two or three things. That one is that I think once we go back to a normal life, we will probably value the life, the freedom, the luxuries we have a lot more, because we will realize that how tough it was without them, and how it's we had taken all these things for granted. So we'll probably value that a lot more. And um, another small message that I would also like to convey to the general public is that uh, a lot of there have been incidences of many cases of, say, violence or aggression against healthcare workers that have happened. May
Yeah.
not necessarily in Bombay, but from multiple quarters of India. And one of the things that, I mean, I am not a corona frontline doctor. I'm a psychiatrist, so I don't necessarily deal with frontline patients.
Mm.
But one of the things I just want to tell people is that uh, please understand this, that if doctors are trying to quarantine you, or if doctors are trying to probably detect you whether you have COVID or not and take you somewhere for help,
Mm.
I mean, they're doing it for your own good, and they don't get any sadistic pleasure in doing it. And these are government doctors who are paid by the government. These are not people who are private practitioners, and these are not people who are trying to make money out of you. They are, in fact, exposing themselves to a lot of risk while working for you. So my very earnest request is, you don't want to recognize them. It's absolutely fine. You don't want to give them credit, but don't be violent and aggressive towards them, because what will happen is that, if the entire healthcare force decides that, okay, we're not going to work because we're afraid of our own life, where are you all going to go? I mean, it's something which is, very important. And I mean, my message is that, I mean, we've always been a very non-violent lot, and we will continue to be. I mean,
Yeah.
we don't intend to go on strike, or we don't intend, because we know there are a lot of genuine patients who will suffer. So we've never ever done that. And the doctoral profession is a very humane profession. So even in this period, I mean, we have seen a number of people free. We've seen a number of patients free. We are helping a number of NGOs. I mean, we have not bothered about our fees with many patients. If they've said, doctor, I'm having a hard time and I can't pay you, we've said it's fine. You come, take the consultation and go.
Mm.
So please, at least, do not get aggressive and violent. And, like the incident, I mean, there have been a few incidences, particularly a huge incident that happened in Chennai where, the doctor didn't get a decent funeral. It's been in the news. There have been so many incidences. My only request is that, don't get violent against doctors.
Yeah.
Lastly, I mean, that was my personal request as a doctor. And lastly, the message here is, have regard for the fact that we're in a great country. We're in a good country wherein, I mean, our government has been very proactive in taking certain decisions. Don't criticize the lockdown. Don't say whether it was a good decision or a bad decision. Understand this, that it was the only decision that could have been taken. So there is no good or bad here. It was the only choice we had. So we had to take it. So, and it was taken early. I mean, if you look at Italy, I think you see how they failed in many aspects. Maharashtra is probably 4 times the size of Italy population-wise, but we still have done far better than Italy. So I think we have to respect the fact that a lot of proactiveness has happened by the people in power and our government, and that is why we're probably leading a very safe life today. And we should cooperate with them further as well.
Yeah, because I just read in the morning that we are officially in stage 3 right now. It's a community widespread. So this lockdown may continue, for a couple of weeks more or maybe months more, I think, right? And that's
right.
And that's something which that also would bring to me is, I'm sure after this session, I'm going to get a lot more questions specific to individuals as well, which I would, bring it together, and would love to do another session with you as well. I don't want to make it too long because it gets boring for everybody to watch the whole session.
Definitely.
But do you think there's going to be a lockdown extension, just general public?
Okay, my whole thing is that if the extension happens, we have to accept it. We can't say why and what. So let's brace ourselves and face it. I mean, if let's say it doesn't happen, fine, then there will be norms and rules put in. We'll have to follow that. I would tell people, I mean, see, you're very lucky. You're staying in your house. You are getting most essentials as far as possible, which I think are freely available. There are people who are even in the lockdown delivering gas, essentials, to vegetables, fruits to your doorstep. So, we are very lucky that way. And the most important thing is that, we are not in a situation like a tsunami or a hurricane where, everything is washed away. We are very much here. It's just that we just have to be indoors.
Right.
So, they're not asking you much. They're just asking you to be indoors. I know it's a bit, it's easy for people who have maybe 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom flats to stay compared to those who are probably locked in a 1-room flat or whatever. I understand that. But the important thing is, nevertheless, I mean, we don't have a choice. So, we have to make the most of what we have. In fact, I remember of somebody phoned me and said he's having a lot of problems with his parents and he's locked in now with them. So the problems are more. And I told him, this is a very good time for you to sit them down and probably sort out your problems, rather than fight more. And, because you all have 8 hours in the day to listen to each other. So why not, talk and tell them very frankly, you never know, solution just come off.
Right. Yeah. By talking to each other, listening to each other is probably what you're asking them to do. Dr. Avinash, I really appreciate your time. This is fantastic. I'm sure all the viewers would love to, ask more questions. I would love to do another session with you once we have those list of questions as well. And, thank you and stay safe.
Definitely.
Take care now. Bye-bye.
Bye.